I'm Grayson Ottaway. Welcome back. This is Marvelous Videos. Lovecraft P.I. A Shot in the Dark. Explored. Weird science fiction and horror writer H.P. Lovecraft is credited for birthing the Cthulhu mythology. For his literary works, Lovecraft created a structure with antagonistic gods deep in slumber who could eradicate mankind at any time. One such creature was Dagon, an aquatic god who rested deep in the oceans. Fishermen in the town of Innsmouth prayed to Dagon for fishing bounty, and the god also had an order dedicated to him. The order wished to revive Dagon to eradicate mankind. There have been several works with reference to Dagon. In today's video, we'll talk about one such comic, Lovecraft Paranormal Investigator, A Shot in the Dark, created by Fritz Stryker and D.W. Can. The story's based on the experience of an investigator who gets entangled in the burglary of a book that can allow Dagon to rise once again. Before we go into our explanation, a very small request. If you like our content, please support this channel by subscribing. Small click for you, but for us it means a great deal. Thank you. Let's go. Something is very fishy in Innsmouth. Lovecraft P.I. A Shot in the Dark opens with a scene in the Innsmouth Museum of Supernatural History. A loud and distraught sound comes from inside the museum, and we're quickly taken to a man who's running for his life. Something that is supposed to exist only in legends is the culprit behind his misery. He tries to find the watchman, but soon comes across his dead body. Near the man stands the silhouette of a marine-like creature that looks far from anything like human. The man realizes that the creature must be behind some book which he cannot risk falling into the wrong hands. He rushes to the part of the museum that holds the coveted book of the Necronomicon, written by the mad Arab Abdul al-Hazred of Damascus in the 8th century. He tries to save the book, but the creature comes at him from behind. The man is ultimately killed, and the creature breaks the casing around the book and disappears with it. The case of the murder and theft of the book causes a ruckus in the mysterious and isolated town of Innsmouth. To investigate the matter, paranormal investigator Ward Lovecraft comes to the town, expecting this to be an unusual case of burglary and murder, all while underestimating how unusual it truly is. This is also Lovecraft's first time in this town, which mainly serves as a fishery and shipyard. Lovecraft has been hired by the Miskatonic Detective Agency by Mr. Barnabas Marsh, the chairman of the museum's board, and a respected man in this godless town. He rushes towards Lovecraft, and we soon learn that the man who was murdered that night was Mr. Marsh's son. We also learn that something worse lurks underneath, making Mr. Marsh believe that the incident was nothing like your regular burglary. He soon makes it very clear to the detective that the reason why he's putting so much importance on the investigation is not because his son Joshua has been murdered, but because of the book that has been stolen, because it is a book that can be way too dangerous if it falls in the wrong hands. Lovecraft surprisingly knows a great deal about the Necronomicon, which impresses Mr. Marsh. He also wastes no time in deducing that finding the book will lead him to the murderer of Joshua Marsh, because they are seemingly the same person. He soon makes a visit to Joshua's wife Asenath to interact with her about the murder. She believes that her husband's death was an accident as collateral of the burglary and not a deliberate attempt at murder. However, Lovecraft tells her that it is a case of murder. He questions Asenath about Joshua's enemies or anything as such, only to learn that he was a man who was loved by many. Asenath tells him that on the night of his death, Joshua had stayed back at the museum until late at night to meet Matthias Eliot, the high cleric of the esoteric order of Dagon, which was the pagan religion that the people of Innsmouth followed. Apparently, the locals worshipped Dagon to get plentiful of fishing in exchange, but Asenath does not know much about the order because it is a brotherhood, and as a result, women are forbidden from being a part of it. Throughout it all, Lovecraft does not suspect Asenath herself because to him, she does not seem like the type of person who would benefit from her husband's death, and with the little information he has, he leaves. Lovecraft then goes to the Church of Dagon to meet Matthias Eliot. It's soon revealed that even though the Order of Dagon has nothing to do with the death of Joshua Marsh, or so they claim, they are quite happy about his demise, mainly because the Marshes did not follow Dagon, and Barnabas Marsh charged exorbitant amounts of money from the poorer people. Lovecraft then meets John Mulligan, the local sheriff, to connect the dots of the incident. Nothing comes off from their conversation, and Lovecraft goes to a hotel to spend the night. Most of the people in the hotel are longshoremen foreigners who work for Mr. Barnabas Marsh. Lovecraft is given a room by the receptionist, but in the room he meets a beautiful and alluring woman. A single glance tells him everything he needs to know about her. He can tell that she is the type of woman who can trap him like a siren and get under his skin if he lets her. But when she asks him for a drink, he doesn't refuse. She introduces herself as Hannah Wingate, the permanent resident of the hotel and an information collector. She chats up Lovecraft and gives her 2 cents on the ongoing case. She calls Joshua Marsh a casualty of the war between the Marshes and the esoteric Order of Dagon. She tells Lovecraft about the 2 sides being the founders of Innsmouth, but later falling apart because of the fishing ventures. And now no one in the town knows whom to trust. On the other hand, we get to see a creature just like the one at the museum arrive at the hotel and take the receptionist with it. The next day, Lovecraft meets up with Barnabas Marsh, whose account sounds eerily different from Hannah Wingate's. He blames a woman for the chaos between the Marshes and the Order. When Lovecraft asks for the name of the lady, Mr. Marsh gives him the name of Hannah Wingate. Turns out Mr. Marsh and Elliot fell out of their love for her, and now Mr. Marsh believes Elliot killed his son to get back at him. Lovecraft realizes that nothing Hannah had told him the night before was true, and she was just treating him like a pawn. All in all, his Innsmouth experience was far from being similar to any other investigation. Things get more complicated when Lovecraft learns that Hannah is currently with Brother Joseph from the esoteric Order of Dagon. Elliot sneaks up on him and tells him that she started her affair with Brother Joseph right after ending her affair with Elliot himself. The story around Hannah Wingate gets crazier for Lovecraft to work around. Elliot reveals to Lovecraft that even though he knew of the Necromonicon book as it originally belonged to the Order, he had no idea of its thief. He believed the Marshes were involved, while the Marshes blamed the Order. After Lovecraft leaves, Elliot calls for an attack on Mr. Marsh, an attack that will prompt the members of the Order to burn away everything that he owns in the city. Every conversation Lovecraft has had so far caused more confusion, so he opted to approach a more neutral party, the local sheriff, John Mulligan. Mulligan claims that Joshua Marsh's body has been stolen from the morgue, which is very suspicious because no one has ever been able to steal a body from the morgue. He also learns of Lovecraft's affiliation with Hannah and jumps to the conclusion that she has gotten her claws on him. Thankfully, Lovecraft has not allowed that to happen. Soon the sheriff finds another town ruckus to attend to, and Lovecraft goes back to the hotel. He finds Hannah once again, who's been hit by Joseph. She cries to Lovecraft, but clearly it's an act to gain his sympathy. While he looks away, she makes him a drink and spikes it. Lovecraft shows an interest in her crazy love life, but she narrates her story. Something hits the man out of nowhere. He starts feeling strange and begins to sweat, thanks to the drink. Soon he experiences his body spiraling and enters a dazed state that takes him back to the past. Lovecraft gets visions from his childhood, a childhood where something had happened to his mother. While she writhed in the hospital bed with restraints, a young Lovecraft sat beside his mother, waiting for her to get better. Soon she rose up and started chanting spells in a gibberish language that had clear connections with the Cthulhu mythology, the one which Dagon happens to be a part. Lovecraft gets more and more visions when people around him turn into strange, menacing creatures. When he gains consciousness, he finds himself in restraints and on a stretcher, being pulled by Joshua Marsh's wife, Asenath. She speaks the same language as the others in Lovecraft's visions. When she sees that Lovecraft is conscious, she tells him that he is just in time for his own sacrifice. She even confesses to killing her husband for a bigger plan. Lovecraft blames Hannah Wingate for it, but Asenath gets riled up hearing her name as she refers to Miss Wingate as the Mistress. Lovecraft realizes that Hannah is the culprit behind all the ruckus in Innsmouth, all for her personal objectives. He thinks she wants to uproot the world of men and allow herself and her women to rule over them. Asenath finds that a foolish take, because the true plan is for Dagon to take over. They wish to bring back Dagon and make him rule the world instead. Lovecraft makes fun of the religion of the fish people and spits on Asenath. He breaks free, fights off some of the creatures called the Deep Ones, and evades in a boat. Back on land, he finds Innsmouth to be in a terrible state of unrest, courtesy of the feud between the Order and Barnabas Marsh, who owns over half the city. Lovecraft soon finds Mulligan, who fights off the ruckus with his weapons. He explains the situation in simpler terms to the local sheriff as the two witness men from both sides fighting. Soon, a Deep One comes out of nowhere to attack them, making it evident that the two sides have been pitted against each other to kick off the grander plan. Lovecraft uses a strange weapon to kill off the creature and lets everyone know they need to unite to fight off these creatures who want nothing more than to turn them into human livestock. Meanwhile, two Deep Ones bring Asenath to Hannah, who's furious at her for letting the sacrifice, in this case Lovecraft, escape. Asenath tries to redeem herself, but Hannah doesn't forgive her, at least not until Lovecraft comes to fight them. Asenath is released, and Lovecraft points out how her compassion towards Asenath has always been a ruse to get to the Necronomicon. Hannah tells him that their bond is deeper than any man can fathom, and Asenath clearly believes it. However, Hannah goes on to reveal her original plans. For her entire life, the men of Innsmouth have treated her like a trophy, and for revenge, she wants to end them all. Not by killing them herself, but by making them kill each other. She had started affairs with all the men involved in Innsmouth's fishing ports to get to the book, which they used for the fishing. Meanwhile, she did not marry and settle down like Asenath, because Asenath had no choice outside of staying in her horrible marriage or becoming an old maid. But Innsmouth was only a stepping stone for Hannah. After obliterating the town, she intends to unleash Dagon himself and obliterate mankind, only for a new world to rise from the ashes, a world that she wants to rule over. Asenath realizes that Hannah's plan includes no one but herself. She wants all the power for herself, and it is not a case of sisterhood where she will stand by the woman she has promised to support. She had lured in Hannah with her antics, making her fall prey to the siren seduction. Asenath had fallen in love with Hannah after being manipulated by her because she could get her closer to the book. Asenath did not even know that Hannah wished to destroy the existing world. Infuriated, she attacks Hannah with a dagger, but Hannah soon turns the tide on Asenath. Thankfully, she's saved by Lovecraft. Hannah orders the Deep Ones to kill him, but Lovecraft uses his relics from the Shanghai War to make the creatures do his bidding instead. One of the creatures eventually attacks Hannah, ripping her head out. But this brings the ritual to completion as she's been sacrificed, giving rise to Dagon. Lovecraft fights it back, but it is only revealed to be a vision and not reality. He later takes the book away from Asenath and hands her to the police in Innsmouth. He explains everything to John Mulligan and leaves with the book. Several other media have been created with Dagon as the centerpiece of the story. The 2001 Spanish horror film known as Dagon is one such example, where the story takes up to the town of Innsmouth and its strange fishmen called the Deep Ones. Needless to say, H.P. Lovecraft has successfully made us feel iffy about seafood. If you like our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Thank you so very much for watching. Have a good one and be safe.